some are here to listen, and some are here to present their point of view. It's the annual Diversity Forum organized by the Human Rights Commission, and it's the first time it's been held in the South Island. Held over 2 days, more than 800 people are attending to discuss a range of topics in many different sessions with specific focus to identify practical steps forward in race relations, cultural diversity, and racial equality.
It's about actually coming up with practical ideas, and I know that from this forum there are going to be new projects, new strategies, new actions to celebrate our diversity, to improve racial equality and to strengthen harmonious relations in New Zealand.
At this session, representatives of Christchurch's recently arrived migrants are here to present cultural items and to tell stories about their experiences settling into a new country.
My family and I left Korea to come to New Zealand for a better environment, to actually enjoy our education and also to explore better opportunities in life.
Most of the stories are generally positive, but in another session, a different picture is presented about life for many of our Asian immigrants.
Thank you so much for coming to our session today on Confident, Equal and Proud, the Barriers Asians Face to Equality in New Zealand.
Victoria University's Centre for Applied Cross-Cultural Research presented the findings of recent state-of-the-art research which showed that Asians face more discrimination than any other ethnic groups in the country. The session heard that while New Zealanders' attitudes towards immigration and diversity in general were relatively positive, there was a gap between this positive attitude and the way it was practiced.
It's good to think that diversity should not only be tolerated but celebrated, but when it comes down to, will I employ a Chinese migrant if he or she has the same skills and qualifications as a native-born New Zealander, what you're going to generally find is that choice is going to be for the native-born New Zealander. So on one hand, I think diversity is good, but if I have to give up something to accommodate it, then there's a bit of a problem.
So the first thing in terms of coping with discrimination, that in terms of the harassment, it's not nearly as bad as you think. Okay, I would say I would be verbally harassed on average about once a year. Typically, the experience of racism and discrimination is mild harassment. But I think the more insidious problem is one of unemployment and underemployment. Now that is very, very structural to the point where essentially Asians are excluded at many levels, even by human resource personnel, by evaluation of CVs, and in terms of income level, so that in 1996, Asians born overseas earned 60% less than comparably qualified New Zealand Europeans. And that was much worse than in 1981.
When I was Minister of Immigration, one of the biggest problems that I saw was around Asian migrants to New Zealand who couldn't find work in their field of expertise. We do know that if people haven't got a job or they're working in a job they're grossly overqualified for, which we still see, then it can be, it can be very cultural. It can affect people's lives at home, and that sense of losing face amongst the family, especially when they've travelled from a long way to make New Zealand their home.
It is bad that there's discrimination on the street, but let's not get too carried away with it, because we can deal with that. In fact, the police are going to deal with it, and we are. There's ways to do it, and I'll talk to that in a minute. More serious is institutionalised discrimination, where you can't get a job and you should.
Police Area Commander David Lowry believes institutional racism is a serious issue which needs to be tackled.
So there's a tool to fix those sort of things, and this may not be PC, but stigmatisation of those individuals that allow it to happen. Imagine front page news, HR consultants very prejudiced. The goodwill coming out of the sort of church is that Europeans, predominantly when they have interaction with Asian people, they feel warmly towards them. The relationship grows well. Well, there's a timeline for that goodwill to remain. If, for example, negative things start outweighing the good things, then that goodwill can evaporate. And it's very important that we capture that goodwill and grow it to an enduring goodwill between the people. That's a real key, I think.
I hope that what was presented there and what was discussed will lead to some new initiatives to both recognise the contribution of Asian people in New Zealand and to tackle the issues of discrimination in public places and in employment particularly.
That's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Takitiano. See you next week.
This programme was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.